Thank you for the blessings of today, and we're thankful for the country we live in and the freedoms we enjoy. We do pray for those in leadership nationally that you would watch over them and help them have them look to you above for wisdom, direction. And the same with us, even locally, we pray for direction from the high. We could trust in you and lean upon you. We're thankful for the freedoms again that our servicemen provide safety, sheriff's office and first responders, but watch over them and keep them safe. So I did this prayer, what is lacking we pray in the name of Christ. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the June 2nd Commissioners meeting. You have the agenda and last meeting's notes were sent to you. Any alterations or changes?
I move to pass the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0. We have a payroll of $306,676.36. Claims of $776,919.98.
I'll move to pass the financials as written.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Sheriff.
Brought my sidekick with me.
Did he get a?
Nope, not yet. He's gonna deputize him. Just real quick, jail number 68, total today 39 are pretrial circuit, 18 pretrial superior, 3 DOC, and no F6. So last commissioners meeting, we brought up, we talked about bids for kitchen repair. At that time, we had discussed a couple things within, we'd received one bid out of 3. Out of that one bid, we had received, some questions came up in the last commissioners meeting. One, why were they putting PVC back in?
Cast iron.
Cast iron, sorry, instead of PVC. And do we go through and deal with everything, plumbing and electrical underground at that point? So I'll let Nate, he reached out to Superior with some of those questions.
Yeah, so I gave Jeremy Cray with Superior a call and kind of talked through some of that. Asked from his perspective, what does it mean to do it the way that we listed it versus doing the whole thing? What's your perspective on the galvanized electrical conduits? So he reached out to one of his subcontractors at Votal Electric and kind of had some discussion about that. Said that it's not terribly uncommon to see buried galvanized have moisture issues that rots the conduit from the inside out. So it's kind of hard to tell from looking at it, but it is a concern over time. Really didn't give me any numbers as far as a time frame. And then the answer to the cast iron, one, and I had this conversation with Scott, was the plans that we got from Solace O'Brien, it actually spec'd cast iron in there. So I told Scott, I said, it's very likely they gave us a price for cast iron just based off the fact that that's what the plans called out. But in talking with Jeremy about why would the plans spec that instead of PVC, he said that in a kitchen setting, it's often the water temperature. You deal with higher water temperatures potentially. PVC is kind of 140 as the upper limit for the hot water. And beyond that, you can start to compromise the PVC. So he said a lot of times, unless you're using, he said there's actually some type of like chemical treatment to the water where you can have chemical additives so you don't have to have the water as hot or something like that for cleaning dishes and stuff. But he said outside of that, it usually is cast iron. So as far as doing the whole project, I mean, it's a valid concern. I don't know, that's kind of up to you guys spending the money on, do you spend a whole lot more to do the project and have kind of that peace of mind that you're not going to have issues down the road, or do you address problems as they come up? And honestly, Superior they didn't really say one way or the other. But for sure, I mean, we're gonna have to put it back out for bid if we add work, right? If we increase the scope of work, it's a completely different project.
Are there any options for some sort of cathodic protection on that, or no?
I have no idea.
Is that something that we
I-
can explore?
I would say, I can speak a little bit to that in the bridge world, but you'd still have to open it up, you'd have to find those conduits, and you'd have
Got
to
it.
attach it that way. So, I mean, it's still kind of messy, still similar operation to what we're talking about as far as cutting runways and stuff like that.
Yeah, and to speak on the cast iron stuff, the water heater within the facility runs at 140. It comes out, loses a little bit when it gets to the kitchen at 130, but I run a automatic dishwasher, industrial dishwasher in there that heats up to 175 degrees for the cleanliness of all the trays and stuff. So we do have, we're kind of exceeding or at least pushing that edge.
So it would do that in the appliance itself, so your drain line coming out of that, not
Correct.
necessarily coming in, but coming out.
Yeah, not coming
definitely.
in, but coming out as a drain, we may have water that would exceed 140, so.
But once it hits the ground temperature, ground is gonna cool it down quite a bit.
Sure, sure.
But still,
So I guess, in talking with Nate, we were gonna present some of the questions you guys had, talked about, how would you like us to proceed? I know Nate's done kind of the legwork on the initial bids in the beginning, and we didn't want to waste Superior's time by having them bid something that we didn't know specifically the criteria for.
how much is this gonna delay the whole scope of what we need to get done?
I don't know that we had a start time on the original thing. did we? So I don't think there was any timeframes
Okay.
put forth yet.
So with the original estimate of what this work was anticipated to cost, we were able to, like, not have to advertise this twice in the paper and have, like, official bids and everything. We could just send it out via email, have phone conversations about it, take the bids, and select a low bidder, which is the absolute fastest time frame to do that. So we did that and turned it around in a couple weeks. But, I mean, I think if you're looking at doing the full-blown added scope of work, where you're tackling both plumbing and electrical, taking all the floor back, or all the floor out and putting it back, there's no way that you're not gonna have to do the most extensive advertisement process. So, I mean, you're
Well, the
talking about.
threshold's, the original, the threshold's at 150 before we have to, before it kicks into, I mean,
Right.
he followed the three bids, it was over 50,000 but less than 150. And so we followed the three bids, only got the one. That satisfied that, but if this price comes in over the 150, which is,
I think you would be better safe to just go ahead and plan on it, potentially being there. But I mean, you're a month plus putting that together, getting it out, advertised, taking bids and selecting.
So what I ask him to do is it make more sense to Band-Aid it, get it running now, and go out and do a full bid, because we know we have to do perimeter drain around that. There's a cell block that has the same issue, and do it as a planned one, or do we cut the entire floor out of the kitchen, replace electrical and cast iron now? But I also questioned, why would we go back in with cast iron if that's what failed? We know it's sitting in limestone, so it's gonna fail again. We're just kicking the can down the road. But I don't know that we have $250,000 to spend on it either. So, do we plan it out and do it at a different time, knowing that we're gonna eat $60K now? And get it planned out and do the whole system, get it bid, go through the whole process, give us some time to sharpen the pencil? Or do we try to do what we know now in the kitchen, do the whole thing, go out for 3 bids? I'm leaning towards, let's get the repair as listed, get you up and running, and then come back and give us some time to plan. But knowing that at some point the 60 grand is just gonna get cut up, pulled out, and redone.
sure. I mean, keep in mind, I'm not down. I mean, I have a drain line that, I can't use a garbage disposal in the one area. I have 2 in the kitchen. Can't use the one. Other than that, I can still do everything I need to do. I have a storage room that I can't use right now because that's where the hole's cut in the floor. So, but other than that, I'm not doing anything different than what I'm doing. I'm just, that needs to be fixed at some point or eventually here. So I think the original plan was let's tackle the issue at hand. I mean, yes, it'd be nice to have that done and not have, even the whole big project, if you looked at it, they were gonna phase it out anyways into different phases, right? They'd probably do the kitchen first and then do exterior. But being able to tackle the issue that's at hand was to deal with the kitchen and get that done and buttoned up. So,
You've got to assume that the galvanized conduit is compromised just like the pipe is. So we go through and we do the pipe. 6 months from now, you walk in, you can't turn the lights on. We got to tear the whole floor up again and redo it. But you could get in there and it's 10 years from failure, I don't know. It's the unknown. I would suggest at this point we fix it with what we have bid out, and we step back and do a comprehensive analysis of what's left. Maybe
With
put
the
some cameras
exterior
down the tubes,
stuff
down the
as well.
pipes and see. Same with conduits. Should be able to fish one through from an outlet or a junction box. And
You want to do it with cast? Or do you want to do it with PVC?
is that just Schedule 40 PVC?
well, it was,
Schedule 40 was what he was talking about with 140 as the upper end limit. But I don't know, it sounds to me like you've tested your water and it sounds like we're running right at that upper limit and it only gets cooler from the source. Outside of just from your dishwasher downstream, is that even part of the project?
yes.
It is?
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's where we opened,
Okay.
that's where we opened the floor at and discovered that the lines are rotted, so.
Okay.
Water temperature can be set, right?
And that
We
would
have
be-
control over water
Yeah.
temp. Even out of the dishwasher, we could figure out a way to set max water temp.
If you set it at 130, I mean, you can still run 170 out of your dishwasher, so you're good, right?
Sterilization's what, like 128?
I'd have to look, it's a industrial washer, I don't know if there's, I'll have maintenance get in and find out if there's recommendations to not operate within certain temperature levels for disinfectant and those type of things.
I would bet the temperature inside the unit is 170 or whatever number that is. I would dare to guess that the water actually isn't that temperature. Because usually at the end of your cycle, it comes in and superheats to dry and sterilize. I bet that's not water temperature at 180 degrees.
Yeah,
Right. Agreed.
I could do some homework on that end and see what information I can find out.
It makes sense to me that it would be PVC, not, why would you put cast iron back in that corrodes the environment?
That was my question 2 weeks ago, was when I saw that, because I didn't see it initially, and then when we saw the bid, I was like, why are we putting back in what we're having issues with? I get it, it may be 35 years from now that they have an issue, but.
I gotta think that PVC is probably, and I don't know, maybe I could be completely wrong on that, but it seems like that would be more cost effective than cast iron.
Oh, you'd think.
And it might be Schedule 80 instead of Schedule 40, it gets us past that hump.
Schedule A to be
Everything
better.
in there is cast iron, so that whatever they go in and replace, they're gonna have to tie into existing cast iron,
That's easy, yeah.
so.
I'd like to make the motion to go ahead with the repairs and look at it with PVC instead of the cast iron.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Like I said, there is a building improvement fund, I'll talk to council, and give them the heads up on that dollar amount based on that bid. We'll probably talk with Jeremy and see if that, I don't know if that'll change the bid at all with PVC, but we'll keep you updated.
Thank you.
And I think at some point, we need to get a comprehensive plan of how to address all that. We know it's gonna fail, let's not wait till it's in failure mode.
Big time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nate.
Hey, you can just stay right there.
I gotta get the rest of my brain. All right. So first up, we've got a couple utility permits. The first one is from Surf Internet, and they're just looking to set a cabinet down in Keystone on County Road 1000 South. I'm recommending that for approval.
Do you have any idea what township that's located in, that wasn't completed in the application?
Nottingham,
Yep.
Chester.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chester, yeah.
see. It's in Chester.
They had provided the GPS coordinates, but they hadn't provided that information, so.
I gotcha.
I'm sure we've got that.
The second one is from Verita Corporation, and this is for underground fiber running from Markle to the North County line. It's along Marzane, and then it turns west on 1,000 North, and then proceeds to head north on 500 West. This one took a little bit of time in review just because I noticed right off the bat that their right-of-way widths that they assumed were like uniform on all of the roads in the permit. So I had questioned that, and I think they went back and took a harder look at what our right-of-ways actually were to make sure that we were fitting them, because some of them were narrower than what they had shown in their plans. So in their second submittal, I think they've got all of them correct, which changed some of their handhole locations, make sure they're not out in a farmer's field. So recommending that one for approval as well.
Is this time frame they have to have it done by, 'cause that was a long, I mean, from Allen County line all the way to Markle?
Yeah, they did not specify the duration of the project or anything,
I
so.
just knew it was a long distance.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was gonna happen in a month or if they're gonna take 3 or 4 years to get it done, so,
I have no idea.
okay. But, yeah, I'll make a motion to allow those two permits.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
All right, a few general updates here. The Meridian Road Community Crossings Grant, we've received funding from NDOT, that's been deposited. I've not heard from Brooks Construction on an anticipated start date, but the plan all along was to try to wait until Adams Street was back open. So, kind of glad I haven't heard anything from Brooks yet.
When is that? When is the Adams Street open?
All right, so
Jumping ahead.
yeah, we'll jump down a couple bullet points here to speak to that. They're scheduled to finish paving up by the end of the week. However, with the forecast, if you haven't seen it, we've got anticipated 3 days of rain late this week, so that's likely to push into next week. And then they've got a few other items that they've got to do that require cure times and subcontractors that aren't going to come in until everything's 100% ready. So, I mean, it looks like the end of the month probably. I know it's not what anybody wants to hear, but I'm not here to lie to anybody either.
Okay.
Back up to Bridge 71, I had some discussion with NDOT. They were noticing that one of the POs for right-of-way phase was inactive and not had anything done for a while. I let them know that it was because we were done purchasing right-of-way for that project, so we went ahead and made a request to close that PO out. Last meeting, I spoke about a quote that E&B had provided to patch that first structure south of 124 on 300 West, and I noted that it was a little bit high. I had some more discussion with them, and we kind of walked through why it was as high as it was, and it does, I guess, make me feel a little bit more comfortable about where it came in. They've got to do that half at a time, and there's multiple pieces of equipment that they've got to use, so rather than being kind of a train, like a chasing operation that they would do like on the state highway, they're going to go down there with the mill and mill a portion out like half the roadway width, and then they're going to have to pave that back and compact it while the mill sits there and they allow traffic. So they've got a lot more idle time, both people and equipment. So they offered to do it time and materials with a not to exceed the original quote. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. The original quote to do the work was $26,000. So,
It'll be T&M basically?
yeah, T&M with not to exceed the $26,000. So I don't know that we're going to be able to get it done, any cheaper than that. So
And it keeps the road open the way they do it.
under flaggers, but yeah, it'll all be done the same day.
I'm good with it. You guys all right with that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. You need a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a
Second.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye. 3-0.
All right, kind of an update on the Dyer and McNeil tie-in points up north in Ossian. We met with all parties on site. They finally were able to provide an estimate for that work. I think I shared that with,
All of us, I believe.
okay,
yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was all of you, but yeah, the estimate was 47,000, and that was a not to exceed. He kind of painted the picture that that was, hey, you know, with some unknowns, this is an absolute maximum. So, I know, Jeff, you wanted that on the agenda to discuss tonight, so I don't know if you've got questions about that, or I did work with Miller Surveying to get a couple plan sheets put together for that work so that we double-checked all of our grade and tie-in points and everything draining, able to eliminate that cross pipe, so.
Yeah, Blake, you were up there, I mean,
Right, we had talked about going through the intersection, but the other way we didn't, we could leave that pipe out.
yep. We won't go through the intersection, we stop right at the intersection.
Right, yeah, I talked, when we talked on site, I mean, it's very hard to do something where you're excavating approximately 14 inches through all four legs of the intersection and not have a plan for traffic control.
Right.
So I get that, this is kind of a add-on for their work, and
But if we solve drainage, we won't have any issues with drainage. That's the whole key.
yeah, and
I'm fine with it.
in fact, when I took a close look at that, when Miller sent the plans over, there was a couple things that weren't necessarily going to be bad for drainage, but I thought they could be a little bit better, so they were able to tie it, like change a couple of the tie-in elevations and stuff and make it a little bit better.
Okay.
So I feel fairly confident that things are gonna work out
I
okay,
just don't need water ponding and setting.
right?
And that'll end up being, I guarantee that'll be the main entrance into that new subdivision.
Yeah, because it'll be the most direct access from State Road 1.
So do we need a motion on that one, or just,
I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know what the request is.
47.
it's just a tie-in per the plan. It was just, we're gonna sub it out basically to the contractor, you get a better rate, because they're already there.
Understand the discussion.
Yeah, I get
I'm
it.
still not sure that, if there's a contract that needs to be approved or entered into, yes, you should do it in form of a motion.
Okay.
Well, I'll make the motion that the county will contribute up to and not to exceed 47,000 for this development.
Big
in Austin.
tie-in.
So, Ted, just so I'm clear, they provided an estimate for the work not to exceed. Do I wait until the bill comes to?
I would suggest perhaps the motion would be amended to give the authority to the county engineer to enter into an appropriate contract not to exceed $47,000, because I wouldn't want our county engineer or any of our departments to go in with some kind of authority. I think if you delegate the authority to him to enter into that contract, and then if he has any questions, he could bring it back to the Board of Commissioners for final execution.
I'll amend it to include Nate's.
I'll second with that amendment.
Thank you, Dave.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Just keep us in the loop about what that one is. It's still gonna be cheaper to do it this way than it would be to mobilize, get our own quotes and do it.
Yeah.
We're already gonna be there laying the roads.
Yeah, by far. And I don't know what you guys are thinking as far as how we're paying for this. I guess I did think about that a little bit, and I have some ideas, so I don't know if you want to talk about that, or just once the work's done and we get a bill, or what.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can discuss with Lisa where it comes, what fund it comes out of.
Okay.
Should have money set aside as part of what Nate had in for the Biggs, not this Nate Rumschlag had in for the Biggs project. We just gotta look where that funding was from.
I'd look
I
the
know
other
we
direction.
I know we talked about it, but I don't know if he ever earmarked it, if you want to call it that.
I've looked at a lot of things and I've not seen it, so I started making other plans.
Okay.
Nothing else that can come out of the commissioner's lit.
Yep, capital development, they have money there.
We can do that, local road and street maybe, or something too, so.
All right, this one's kind of been a long time coming, so I'm happy to say that I finally was able to sit down with United REMC, week before last, actually. We talked about our usage rates being extremely high and trying to figure out the source of that problem. And I told you in discussions, initially, they said it was because of the size of transformer that we had, but they wanted to kind of make it through the winter season and see what our peak demand was. So they recommended, let's try to get a year of usage on the book so we can evaluate this properly. So we got to that point, and I hit them up again. They came out, talked about a few different things, and then they called back on a Friday morning. And what they're planning to do is they are going to drop us from the commercial rate and put us on a general three-phase rate. So there's a big monthly demand charge that's now on our bill every month, no matter what. That'll completely go away. And then there's like some other facilities charges that they estimated that they were going to be cutting at least half or maybe more. So in looking at what the charges have been, I'm hopeful that we're going to decrease the electric bill by about $1,000 a month on average.
And they're going to drop it from the 750 to 225?
Yeah. So initially, we were talking about the logistics of making that happen, and then they had some internal discussions, and they said, hey, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to cut you even before we get that changed out. We're going to go ahead and cut you down, and whenever we get this figured out, we'll come and swap that out. I think they've got plans for the transformer somewhere else, so it's able to work out nicely that way.
Who was that?
It was Ben Landrum.
Send him a Christmas gift, won't we?
There you go. I've known Ben for a long time, since I was a kid, so he was giving me a hard time about owing him one. Update on the County Home Road project. So Brooks moved in late last week and started stripping topsoil. Then they set up erosion control measures, and I heard that they started working on starting dirt work, building grade today. So there should be quite a bit of stuff going on out there now. As far as general updates, just for the county highway guys, the North Crew's been working on resolving multiple property owner water complaints. Spent the last couple weeks going out and visiting with a couple different people and doing a little bit of ditching and tile repair and things like that. They've also been working on putting in pipes for field entrances up on the 800 road conversion. South Crew's been scrambling pretty good, trying to finish up using the Durapatcher so that the North Crew can use the Durapatcher ahead of the chip seal season. Just a couple other general notes that I've been thinking about. Here in the next week or so, I'm going to try to sit down with both the foremen and the mechanics and just talk about kind of our equipment needs, like lifespans that are remaining, what we want to replace, what we want to keep, so we can kind of start getting a long-term plan together instead of, hey, this is failing, we need a new one now. Just kind of trying to see where stuff's at in its life cycle. Also going to sit down with them and go back through the 2025 chip seal program just to make sure that we've got everything captured to incorporate the ones that we weren't anticipating to do, but we need to do ahead of the durable pavement marking contract. And then also, there's been some discussion here the last couple days about possibly getting somebody internal trained as like a CDL trainer or instructor. I think Sean had that certification, so he could kind of do that for the new hires, and now we don't have anybody. And what I'm hearing is it's anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000 to get somebody CDL certified. So if we can get somebody internal to be able to sign that paperwork and stuff like that, I think it would be beneficial. Just trying to figure out who the best person to do that is right now.
How many on staff don't have that credentials?
There were 2 new hires
Okay.
last year that are, working on getting their hours and stuff, but we'll need that.
Right.
I think one of the foremen told me that we need to get that figured out by September.
Okay.
So,
That was definitely one of the benefits with Sean's employment, was he was a CDL trainer.
Right.
and I did reach out to, it's Lincoln's dad works for the electric utility here in Bluffton, and I think he holds that certification. But it seemed like maybe we couldn't do it across, like you can have somebody internal to your organization, but not necessarily outside or something. So, I guess we'll look internally. Just a few more things here. All right, so I had more papers in the printer that I didn't bring, but I had a pipe order that I placed with Fratco. I'd got bids from Fratco and another company out of Ohio, Boffman Tile. Fratco was the low bidder, and the foremen were telling me that we needed some more plastic pipes. We were out of some sizes, getting low on others. So I went ahead and placed that order. It was just over $16,000. And like I said, I meant to print that and bring it with me, and evidently I didn't make it. It may be in your guys' packet. Maybe I just didn't print it for myself. Okay. I was gonna say, I remember grabbing those out of the tray, so.
It's on mine.
Okay. And then the second one after that is for a soil conditioner attachment. So as you know, Sean had purchased a new skid loader from Bobcat, and our old soil conditioner was not compatible with that. So they were renting one from Bobcat because they needed one immediately to finish some work. They finished that work up, so we stopped renting it and returned it. But we had a quote, and we had a quote to adapt the old one, which was, I want to say, around $1,000, or we could trade our old one and get good trade value for it and purchase basically the same model but a brand new one of what we were renting. So the guys were familiar with it. We knew what its capabilities were and that it was compatible with the machine and everything. So I also went ahead and went with that quote. It was for just over $8,000 is what the net was after trade-in.
Did you seek other quotes from 3 vendors on this one?
That was established before, that kind of was thrown on my lap as a done deal. So I don't know.
It would be compatible, however, with the system you had already purchased, that Bobcat. So instead of renting it, this would go with the system already in place with the highway department, and it goes specifically with that particular line or train of equipment.
I agree. Final item, Jeff, I think you knew we were going to look at getting some quotes for the landscaping and stuff. I believe one of the gentlemen that stopped out, you had asked him to stop out and take a look at things and
I
get us a
stopped
quote.
every landscaper I could find to get out there.
Okay, so we had two individuals stop out and look at things. They had differing opinions about how to handle some of the stuff. So the quotes were vastly different. One quote included quite a bit more, the other quote doesn't. However, I do feel that the lower quote will get us heading the right direction. The main difference in the quotes was the higher one was for regrading, like killing all the grass that's out there, which isn't a whole lot, I understand. Killing all the grass, regrading, retilling everything, reseeding, fertilizing everything for the grass. That's the main difference in the quote. But the difference in the quotes is substantial. So it's kind of, do we want to spend 20+ thousand, or do we want to spend about $5,000 to get things kind of head in the right direction? So I think that the $5,000, I feel pretty good about what that's going to do. I think it's just going to take a little bit longer, but I think by this time next year, the grass will look much better. I don't think we need to, everything pretty well drains out there. The grade is not the issue. It's just that we planted grass at the wrong time of year last year. I think the guys just tried to do it when they had time, and that was in July or August. And then they were trying to water it with sprinklers. The suggestion that I got from one of the bidders was, you know, hey, you've got a decent amount started here. It's struggling because it doesn't have any nutrition. So we could come in and do like 3 fertilizer applications throughout the year. And I told them, you know, we've got a slit seeder there at the highway department. You know, this fall, once things cool down a little bit, we could go over that whole thing with the slit seeder a couple times, drop some more seed in there, fertilize it heavy before winter, and I think things will look a lot different in the spring. But
It's the weed beds, not flower beds, weed beds that need some attention.
yeah,
We supposedly saved money doing it ourselves and then didn't put any weed barrier down. It looks terrible. Doesn't look like a brand new highway garage, and
well, and part of that is, so there is, believe it or not, there's weed barrier there, but it's not plastic, it's the cloth weed barrier, which the guy said right off the bat, he's like, yeah, we never use that stuff, we just go with plastic because you get a little bit of dirt on that and it'll just grow.
Weeds grew on the weed barrier.
Yep, that's exactly right. On it, not through it, right?
You're right.
I don't know how that works. They can, with that number, they can kind of make the decision out of their own budget, right? So you decide which way you want to go. Just make it look better than,
I was just kind of, if you're gonna split seed it September or October, not before.
Right,
Not before.
No.
And fertilize it in September, fertilize it at Thanksgiving.
Yep, I get it. Okay.
I put too many yards in it. That's not my profession even, so. but-
So I will likely, I guess, can we get a motion to accept the quote from Outdoor Concepts?
Yeah, make a motion to accept that quote.
It was, their quote listed sales tax, which I know we don't pay, so I took it off. So this number excludes sales tax, but it was $5,060 to kind of get things turned around out there. And then,
we'll seed it in the fall.
yeah,
I'll make that motion.
I made the motion, just need a second.
Yeah, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
all right.
I've got to meet with Lisa, but we got 5 or 6 applicants. We'll try to get interviews set up for before next commissioners meeting. If you got time, I'd love for you to sit in on those.
Yeah, just let me know when you guys are planning on doing them and I'll carve out time.
Okay. Thanks for stepping up.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bobby.
Hi.
How are you?
Bobby?
Hello. Okay, we're back on the heating control bids that we advertised and did all of our steps that we needed to do to get them bids in, and they were opened. Lisa and I were in the office and opened them on Friday, and the bids did come in quite a bit different. One was from Fridge Company out of Indianapolis. I have never heard of them personally. The salesperson that had figured this did work for us in the past. He did work for the other company that also bid this, and that was Dillon Group. And he had come and see me a few days prior to this and put together a quote to put in. His did come in at $238,700. Dillon Group came in at $285,670. Granted, again, I'm not sure anything about the country. I've not seen many trucks or anything about that. With that being said, I had done a check to check reviews on the companies. I don't know if that's going to be helpful or not to make any decisions on how you wanted to do this, but Dillings come in at like 4.9 overall in reviews, and Frege came in at 2.5. So that was one of the things that I wasn't sure how else to kind of get an idea of the company, and that was the quickest thing I could come up with to kind of compare a little bit on service and stuff. I know I have nothing against either group, but that being said, I deal with Dilling for several years on these projects. The service person from the other one was one that was one of the originals to put the service in, or the system in. He, I think now is doing a lot of the quoting and the bidding and stuff from home and on project as needed. I don't know that how much service he does. I'm not sure turnaround time of getting them here to work on the system when need be. We have when the project started, we've had to replace a unit that is not compatible to our systems anymore. So any that would have to be replaced will run into the same problem. So for about 8 to 10 months, the Dillon Group did come and rewrite programs, redo programs, just to get this compatible to get us through with what we were doing. And in that time frame, they did not charge us for the service when they were here to do those repairs. So I know, like I said, I don't know anything about the Frege company. If you do, that's great. You might know more than I do on that. I only had the reviews and the pricing, and I did know their person who did do their quoting on that. And he's a great guy. I don't distrust him. I don't do anything like that at all. And, but again, it just comes down to, I don't know the companies, so it would be kind of in your hands to decide what you wanted to do with it.
What do you think the big difference is between the quotes here to have a $47,000 swing thereabout?
I don't really know. I'll tell you, we opened the bids on Friday, and I was leaving for vacation Friday evening. So I have not had a chance to basically look them side by side, and Ted, I think, had just said that he had gotten his late this afternoon to look at too, so.
Sure.
We haven't had a chance to, see if they have any operations or clients in like
In
Fort
the area.
Wayne or, surrounding bigger cities or whatever. I'm trying to look at their website currently, and
I'd like to look at them, and usually with that big a discrepancy, usually one's a fixed firm and another one is cost plus, so
Yeah.
they get in, they have delays or whatever, there's a change order, so I just need to look at them and see.
I mean,
Might be a lot closer than what you think once you
Yeah.
look at the fixed firm and variable.
if we're taking 3 hours of response time compared to 30 minutes of
30 minutes to
response, I
40
don't
minutes, a
know.
lot of times if they're in
It may end up making sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah, if you have something going on, like they have a meeting and they have to pull out of that office, they'll charge you a delay cost, so I just need to look at
Yeah,
those.
that, we don't get that from where we are now. I mean, if they're on a job, they'll pull just to come look it over and say, okay, we can get you going, but we'll be back to finish it tomorrow.
Just so I know, is the contract about ongoing services, or is it just to do the replacement of the?
This is just replacement of that. Dilling right now has the service contract for just filters and that part of it.
Service stuff.
Yeah, the service stuff, but not actually, the actual service of replacing or repairing something could go to a different company if they could not do it. But their main contract is doing our filters and our service on all of our equipment yearly and bi-yearly. Or
This quote is for replace and repair with continual operation, right? unless you guys want to make a call in today, I'd like to just stop in tomorrow and go through the details with you, and then at the next meeting, once we have the details, give her a direction.
Yeah. If I get a chance to do it, I'm going to investigate it further. I know I asked regarding how many times we've had services with billing in line by line from Eichler, the auditor's office, so we know, response time, we have to keep that in mind, so.
It's not going to cause you any problems for us to sit on it for another couple weeks, is it?
No, not for a few weeks, no. It's just, I'd like to get it done before it gets to be like 90, 100 outside tomorrow.
That's no fun.
It should be.
The girls would probably appreciate that
Oh, yeah.
also, I'm sure, but, I mean, we kind of
No doubt.
struggled through a little bit last summer, and I don't want to put that too far out if we could adjust that.
Especially with our good judges present.
Yeah, they don't want you needing to. Yeah, no, it's warm in there. Okay, and then I had a few more jobs that I've got, and to kind of let you know where we are on budget and stuff, so you'll know if I have to come before money, you'll know what this is all about. Right now, I've got about 35-ish thousand left in my budget. And now that well, actually, it's going to be about 12,000 after I have the jobs paid for that are out right now, such as the front doors of the annex that are in, I believe, and they're going to be starting those. I had gotten 3 quotes. It was underneath the threshold, and the one in Stronghold come in lowest, so we went ahead and ordered that. I went ahead and ordered that. Doing some cement work on the front, getting that pad replaced on the northeast side of the building there. We did have a quote to do the back side also, but where my budget is this year, it's just not looking like that's going to be able to take place right now. Elevator is down, but I got confirmation right before I came over that their job they're finishing up on Friday, and they should be here Monday to start and finish this. It will have to be inspected when the job is over, but I had talked to the inspector when he was here the last time, and he said it shouldn't be a very long turnover for him to get back here to do the inspection once it's finished. So with that being said, hopefully within a week or so, or we could get that back up and running in a couple of weeks. So that was good news. The handicap restroom in the annex, or not annex, the courthouse, is I have contacted 3 contractors, and I've only had one that basically has given me any interest in giving a quote on that, and we did get that in just yesterday, or over the weekend. He sent it to me, but it did come in considerably less than what I anticipated it, and we were going to look at using the AGA money to do the handicap unisex bathroom for the jury room. And so with that being said, I had contacted like Jackson's and Barmeisters and a few others, and they weren't interested in doing it. They didn't come to look at it or anything else. Jackson's did. They said they were not really interested due to the fact they wanted to have engineers. And after talking to Nate, we changed the way we were looking at it. And engineers weren't really warranted for not being able, because we weren't going to be boring through the floors or anything with the repair that we were looking at the second time. So that came in at, just printed it off, so I have to look here, $12,250. And that was raising floor to the one that's in there, the ladies' room now, level, putting a ramp up, and raising a storage room door to the other side, and a little bit of new plumbing, and kind of stripping it down to the bare walls and bringing it back up and reflooring and painting and stuff like that, so.
It'll be unisex,
It would be a unisex restroom.
so the closet thing sitting in the middle of the room will go away?
Well, that was the whole thing, that, the reason that we went to the unisex, because we couldn't put 2 handicap, in for a man and a woman, so we would have to have a unisex. If we could take that out, it would be ideal to make that jury room much bigger and more functionable for that usage of that room. Less upkeep, that room is not very attractive to go into, when you're having the public using it, and that would be during jury trials and that kind of stuff, and the employees. So that's kind of where I'm at on that, and I guess it's up to you guys what you think we should do with that. I mean, I can handle the excess. I mean, I think there's like $10,000 in there right now for the ADA stuff. And that being said, it would be like a $3,000 difference for me to pick up in my budget, and that wouldn't be a problem to do, so.
We've had 2 incidents, right, judges, where we had issues?
Recently, yeah,
So I think we have to do something with it.
something.
Yeah, I would recommend that, and I would like to get rid of that room
Yeah,
in the center.
that's what I'd like to see, is you fix that bathroom up, make it a unisex, and then tear down the other one and, you know, clean that room up so we can use that
More
whole.
attractive.
Yeah, I would support that.
We need that as a motion, set the funds for it.
Actually, that's a motion, yes,
All right.
absolutely.
All in favor? Aye. There you go.
Okay, I think that is all then, and then you'll be getting a hold of me tomorrow and
Yep.
coming in and taking a look at that.
Blake will follow up too, and then
Yep.
we'll make a decision next time around.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
Like a
Bobby.
plan.
I should be getting reimbursed some money, or I go to council tomorrow for the elevator repairs, so that will bring that number back up in my budget a little bit, so that will help a little bit for the rest of the year,
Okay.
so. I'll know tomorrow.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Monthly reports, miscellaneous.
By county.
first.
Oh, by county, sorry, Tim. Jumping ahead.
You almost got Ronnie.
Our usual handouts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, in 2023, we received an increase, and we're asking for an increase this year also of 5%, which is under what inflation's been for the last couple of years, so it would be $2,270 increase, which would then take our annual increase, our annual grant to $47,678. So, and I always like to comment that our funding doesn't come out of the general fund, it comes out of the developmental disabilities appropriation fund on that, so. And this information's already been presented to Adams County.
Have they made a motion on it?
Yeah, they approved it. The commissioners and the council both approved it, yes. So,
Like you've dealt with this longer than I have.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it.
No, I don't have any issues, so I'll make a motion to allow the increase of $2,270 increase of their normal commitment to $47,678.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
Is this budgeted and appropriated? Do we need a donative agreement, or is this budgeted and approved?
This is for 2026. If you would like a donative agreement, I can sure get him that.
I'm not the one who has to sit through the SBOA audit, ma'am, so.
I will get him a donative agreement.
Easy enough.
The additional form that you'll need, I don't know, not today, but she'll get it to you at some
You know
point
what, I
in
think
time.
I have one right here.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Even better.
is this something you need me to sign right now?
No, he can, I mean, if this, as soon as we can.
It has an attachment that needs to be added, saying what you're going to do with the funds that are.
Okay, so just bring it back to you.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Tim, appreciate it.
Okay, now, monthly reports and miscellaneous.
I have a contract from Bassett Consulting for cost allocation consulting services. This is, we get indirect costs back for child services. and he does all the paperwork and reporting. Last year, we got back $47,828,000. This is to be signed by all three commissioners, and it is currently we do the 3-year plan. It's $5,200 each year for a total cost for a 3-year plan of $15,600.
And this 47,828 was annual,
Yes, that was just last year.
pretty inexpensive.
Lisa, I had a question, Lisa, about Exhibit B, the second to last page, on the double-sided. Do we have to fill that out, and what's your recommendation on that?
I'm sorry.
What's your recommendation on
I have to
Exhibit?
go with a 3-year plan.
Okay.
Does it automatically renew? I didn't look at the fine print.
It does not.
So,
Yes, we'd sign another one in 3 years.
in 3 years.
But this says 6,000. Oh, but I see 3-year, I got you. Okay. It's discounted if you do 3 years.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to allow the Delset consulting agreement.
Do we need to make a choice here, though?
This is the one she recommended. Is this here saves
Yes, you're
roughly
making the
20
motion with this one.
Correct.
Okay, then I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
3-0. Is that all you had?
No, Ted had the
Yeah.
statute requirement.
Yep, sorry, I'm still writing notes down. The Indiana General Assembly provided new notice and agenda requirements that take effect on July 1, 2025, that affects appointed boards. So any board that is consisted of appointed members, not elected, but appointed members, has to add the officer's name, the appointing authority, along with the beginning and expiration date of that officer's term of appointment. That has to be provided on any notice of meeting as well as any agenda provided. My suggestion was, I had drafted a little bit of a memo in cooperation with our auditor, that we can provide this to, any of our boards where we have appointed or predominantly under county commissioner control to assist them with that prospect and just to let them know about this requirement.
So this would go out to all the boards?
That would be my suggestion, yes.
Would we also give it to, like, people we have appointees on, even though we're not over those boards?
You could.
Library board, such?
Yeah, the library board's a great example. For every notice of meeting and every agenda, the library board should be responsible for posting their notice, but they would have to put the name. So, for instance, I'm trying to think of some of our library board appointees. Their name would be on it. Board of Commissioners would be identified as the appointing authority, and then the term of the appointment.
Start and end date, or does
Correct.
it have to just be the end date? Or
Actually, it requires the beginning and expiration date of their appointed term.
We might have some teaching to do with, like cemetery
I
board.
want to say so. Right.
So for those boards who have struggled in the past with the notices anyway, they would have to do that. If they don't post an agenda prior to the meeting, you don't have to start utilizing an agenda, but most boards have an agenda, and so you have to put that on the agenda as well.
We could work on a form that said, here's a basic form to do.
Yes.
Oh, look at that, yeah, just like that.
Just like that.
Example.
Gotcha.
All right, so
So it's just a matter of disseminating it, I guess.
so we need a motion on that, or we just say, go ahead, and let's get this out to all the boards?
Just disseminate
Get
it.
that?
Yep, send it out.
Easy enough. All right, so, nothing else, so we'll open it to the floor. I know we had a couple people that, go ahead, sir. Just state your name if you could. Probably need a sheet of paper to write down all your info on, and what the topic is.
Okay, my name is Bob Park, Uniondale, Indiana. I'd like to address some issues with NDOT, and believe this would be directed to the county commissioners and Mr. Whitaker as well. One, This past year, a four-way stop was installed on Laurel Road and US 224, also known as 100 East and 224. This is still a matter of contention with me. A, it serves the transportation on US 224, a preferential highway. Much commerce flows on this US highway. The four-way was installed to make it safer because of the high school traffic on 100 East. With today's technology, there is no good reason why it wasn't made a signal light, as on State Road 1, a signal eye could have been placed on 100 East to detect traffic flow. Also, it could have been a yellow flashing light, like in some towns between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. to allow night traffic easy flow, especially truck traffic. Being a four-way stop, the state has added rumble strips. Good for attention for the stop, although the noise is irritating. I left a message with Mr. Whitaker months ago about the state placing no engine brake signs, but I never heard back. You can hear the semis using them day and night, which is very irritating. Also, the trucks have an eastbound incline. Because of the stop, they have to pour on the power. Again, irritating. D, there are still many instances of the signs being ran. I have stopped looking. 2 weeks ago, it was ran by an eastbound car taking out a utility pole to avoid a collision. I have seen semis run the signs. Now I read where there is discussion on placing the four-way stop signs on US 224 and 300 West. I know it has a slight jog, but if you follow the lines on 300 West, they will bring you to a good viewpoint. The causes of many accidents are driver awareness and distractions. Also, as far as maintenance along the highways, we are lucky to see 224 mowed once a year. Maybe it's a budget problem, but I guess there is enough in the budget to build a 80-mile trail that will never pay for itself and require maintenance. Also, along US 224, between 75 East and Median, the ditches are in disrepair. Many years ago, the county closed the railway ditch, which was grandfathered in, and routed the water to the ditches on 224. This has created washouts on the south side with flooding farther west. I called many years ago about the north side starting to wash away at 224 in the utility poles. The state did bring in riprap to protect the road, but high water during rain still flood the U.S. highway. And I come here as a concerned citizen and a taxpayer. We as a state and county need to maintain what we have and not look at ventures that increase the tax burden. And I would like to read a statement from the paper by State Senator Holden. This is back on April 7th, and it was referencing Senate Bill 1. And I'll start with this. SB 1 includes a one-year cooling-off period for school districts to incur debt through general obligation or capital project bonds. Holden said this would prospectively allow the taxpayer to see a decrease in their tax rate, at least temporarily. 78% of my property tax bill went to the Norwell School Corporation last year, he added. And this is kind of where I'm leading up to now. With this, Holden reiterated his call to action from our February 8th town hall at the Wells County Public Library. You, as a taxpayer, have to wake up. You've got to pay attention to what's going on, he said. And I know it's difficult because we have made it as difficult and as complicated as possible for folks to understand. But you need to wake up to keep an eye on what's going on. Cities, towns, and townships, school corporations, and your county government to get yourself more involved in what's going on. And I would like to see our finances applied more to something like our sheriff's departments, the EMS, and the fire departments, and more critical needs in the county. And I think the senator is right that we need to wake up. We need to be more accountable for where we spend it and what's going on with our roads in our county. And I thank you.
We've talked several times about 224 and, I know you talked about Nate, but The problem with that intersection, I called the state, I called them all, even called Holdman to see what we could do, and it's the state that dictates, and Nate could go into it more about traffic patterns. I don't know how to fix that one, but I'll help you push that one as,
So, yeah, even adding another one to 300 West, well, I know there's a lot of truck traffic on there, but if we don't want it on there, how are we going to route it? You know, we're going to have to make them use 469, 27, or what, I don't know.
they'll use the easiest path. We need to,
Yeah.
we're also trying to be safe too. That, we've had a fatality at 300 West, and like you said, multiple crashes right in front of your home with the schools, and I always,
And like I say, most of us, they're being inattentive, there's distractions there.
show me the law that can fix that, and we'll put that one in.
I know, but show me the sign that'll fix that too.
I'm with you.
Yeah, MDOT's got like a file a complaint or whatever, page or whatever. I mean, that would be the only thing I would even
Well-
remotely suggest is explain.
It all goes back to what the senator's saying here, get involved.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel like we get involved, but nothing ever happens. It just goes over the head of everyone. I mean, I'm not a man that's involved with the government, but the government's to be working for me.
Amen.
Okay, I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Please make sure you write your name down.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Anybody else? No? All right,
Anybody wants to?
any motions?
I'm Scott Tramiel. I'm a field operations supervisor for community corrections, and I appreciate this time just to speak. I know there's been some mention and some looking into merging our office or our department with the probation department for the county. First off, it's been very difficult for all of us that work in that office because none of us have been approached about this as far as coming to us, inquiring what our thoughts are on it, what our opinions are of it, how it may affect us career-wise, job-wise. And the meetings that have been held that have addressed this, we literally have just been sitting there and we pretty much feel like we're invisible, even though we're the ones that are doing all the work and keeping the office going. This is coming about because our director is retiring after 35 years of dedicated service of being a director. And so I guess I just wanted to, I can't speak for my coworkers, but there are many things that we do all agree about, but my feeling was one of the major things that I'm concerned about with merging is just the increased caseload for probation and us, I guess, in a way. The thing that we kind of pride ourselves with in our department is we really focus on individualized monitoring of our offenders. We kind of invest in them, so to speak, being that we have weekly contact with them, not only in our office, but we go out multiple times through the week and make contact with them at their residences, at their work, as just part of our monitoring of them and making the courts feel comfortable that they're being monitored. They're on GPS monitoring, but there's a lot you can learn by actually going to where they're at, seeing them interact. And with that being said, we have, over the years, have been able to offset some possible violations happening because we've gotten to know these people to a certain extent. We develop a rapport with them so that we can kind of tell if something's off in the household, if there's a family issue going on. learn a lot of these techniques with experience, basically. And because we're able to develop this rapport with our offenders, we're just able to individualize their supervision, I guess is a good way to put it. And it makes a big difference, it really does. Because in a lot of places, they're just treated like a number, and they'll tell us that coming into our office, and we don't do that. It may sound a little corny, but we work on the golden rule. We treat them the way that we want to be treated. Now, if there's issues or violations, we deal with that. That's what the process is for in court. I guess that is one of my main concerns, just because I feel like if we are combined, we're going to be expected to also do checks on probationers, which I feel like is going to decrease our contacts with our home detention offenders. Right now, we're able to give them more specialized attention because that's our focus. But if we're spread over quite a few more people, I just feel like we're going to lose that, and that is a big concern of mine. I also am a little concerned about the way that the director's position has been, I guess, described in a way. They make it sound like it's a part-time position. I've got news for you. I know for a fact it is not anywhere close to a part-time position. There is a lot of responsibility in that position. And I don't see how it's possible to operate that department if the person that's in charge of it is only going to be basically there part-time. I just have huge concerns with that. There's a lot of responsibilities with DOC requirements so that we're able to succeed with getting the grant each year. And there is a lot of preparation for getting the grant put together. Also, there are pre-screen reports that we have to do for all potential offenders coming through court for home detention, that those have to be done. There's just a lot of time-consuming things that have to be done, in addition to overseeing the other employees, the other things that are going on in the office. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour operation. We don't get to just turn everything off at 5 o'clock. For those of us that, we all share on call, and so we are always, one of us is always on call 24/7 for all the different changes that happen with offenders. Things happen in life. They have to make a change to what they told us was going to be happening, and those things have to be addressed in real time. So, I just feel like I wouldn't feel right if I didn't come up and say something. I don't feel like this is a good idea. It was developed to be its own entity for a reason, and I realize there's other counties that have done this. I just don't see the advantages. I see more disadvantages than I do advantages. And that's just coming from, I've been doing this for over 26 years now there, and I feel like I've seen enough and experienced enough to at least have a say in it. And again, this is the first time any of us have had an opportunity to say anything. It amazes me that this directs all of us or affects all of us directly, but yet we've never been spoken to about it. And that's frustrating because we feel like we've earned the right to at least be considered when this is being pushed along. So I thank you for your time, and I just wanted to let you know my thoughts on it.
Thank you.
Hey, Scott, real quick.
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Has probation ever reached out to you or any of your other coworkers to perform a task for them?
Yes.
What were those services?
Drug screens.
For, like, male offenders?
Correct.
Anything else?
They call down if they don't have a male officer in the office
Yeah.
to perform the drug screen.
And then reversed.
We do not. I mean,
You don't do it for them? Okay.
we do it for them, but we
Only
don't
they
ask
ask.
them to do it for us.
Okay.
Gotcha. Any other services?
No, mainly the drug screens.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm not on agenda, I do want to, Kent Kirchhoff, Wells Circuit Court, and Chair of the Wells County Community Corrections Advisory Board. I do just want to respond to something that was said on 2 points. I've met with Mr. Tremail and talked to him about this plan. We did speak to my office about that. Second, Mr. Vanner, you asked about them doing drug screens. We have and are required to have under state law a requirement that the community corrections and probation meet and talk about these kind of services, interagency plan. This is part of that plan as they conduct drug screens together, coordinate how they're done, so there's some consistency and we both do them. So that's part of that plan, not as if it's just something probation pushes off on the community corrections for no good reason. There is a plan. This is part of an overall plan between the 2 departments.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to allude to that, I just was curious if they did anything else.
It assumed that it was done in a way that was being pushed off, that work's been pushed off on it, but it's not the case. It's part of an overall plan that their director and my probation chief have both worked on together and cooperated on, and so there is some there. That's all, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Any other topics, comments, anything?
Right now, I know there's a recommendation in front of us that has been proposed by the Community Corrections Board. I was curious if there's any motions for that, to pass that or move that along.
Best of my knowledge, we have a meeting on the 11th. That's all I know. It's
Community Corrections has a meeting on the 11th.
7:30 a.m.
I would like to read a statement that I prepared today in response to a few of these issues that have been circulating. Over the past years, on a few different occasions, I've been told by Judge Kirchhoff that he was not comfortable sending offenders to community corrections because he doesn't trust Director Poindexter and believes he should be removed. In response, I requested a clear list of shortcomings that I could present to Director Poindexter along with a specific timetable for rectifying those issues. To date, this request has had no response. I've had no substantive feedback or guidance has been provided. Director Poindexter is now elected to retire after 35 years of dedicated service. In light of this transition, 2 of the commissioners have asked Judge Kirchhoff and other members of the Community Corrections Advisory Board to provide options on how community corrections could and should continue, and we also specifically asked them to review applications and conduct interviews for a new director. This has not occurred, and to date, we've received only 1 proposed option. As of today's date, the sole option presented to us by Judge Kirchhoff and the board is a 90-day review of the community corrections program conducted by the county's Assistant Chief Probation, who would, under this proposal, also somehow pull double duties and serve as community corrections interim director during that time. On its face, this arrangement raises serious concerns to me, some of which we addressed at the prior meeting, including, number 1, how can probation department operate effectively without their assistant chief for 3 months? Number 2, if probation is indeed able to operate without their assistant chief for 3 months, does that suggest an overstaffing issue within the probation department? Number 3, how is it appropriate for the probation department to fund an assistant chief PO position who would be performing duties for a separate department? Furthermore, Judge Kirchhoff and other Community Corrections Advisory Board members have claimed that a 90-day review of community corrections by the Assistant Chief of Probation would be fair, neutral, and free from bias. However, after speaking with Community Corrections Advisory Board members and having received a recent written communication from Judge Kirchhoff himself, it's evident that an impartial, balanced evaluation of community corrections is impossible under the arrangement and as has been proposed to us. Why do I say that? Well, first, let's look at the feasibility of 90 days. Judge Kirchhoff has very generally and without specifics cited decades of mismanagement of the Community Corrections Program. It is notable that he himself has served as the president of the Community Corrections Advisory Board. and no action to change leadership of community corrections has taken place until just recently. That said, it is difficult to understand how only in 90 days a thorough review and identification of such long-standing problems could be achieved, let alone the development of any corresponding solutions. Likewise, it is difficult to understand how a review of the community corrections program, which Judge Kirchhoff has been so critical of, can be fair, neutral, and free from bias when the proposed reviewer is an employee under the direct supervision of Judge Kirchhoff himself. The proposed reviewer, Judge Kirchhoff's Assistant Chief of Probation, knows too well how the judge feels about the community corrections program, and that he has unequivocally voiced his desire for a merger of probation and community corrections. Adding to the concerns, Judge Kirchhoff recently alleged financial malfeasance within community corrections in a letter to myself and Auditor McCormick. This is a very serious claim. If there have indeed been threats to public safety or fiscal mismanagement without our Community Corrections Department, such claims necessitate details and evidence that would enable appropriate action on behalf of the county, yet no such details or evidence have been provided. Moreover, Judge Kirchhoff's refusal to send qualifying offenders to community corrections, opting instead to incarcerate them in Wells County Jail, has resulted in another, albeit different in form, wasteful spending of taxpayer dollars. This practice increases jail populations, puts additional pressures on the already overburdened jail staff, is a disservice and injustice to the qualifying offenders who seek redemption and rehabilitation, and diminishes the overall goals and effectiveness of community supervision. It is well documented that Indiana County saved a significant amount of money by utilizing community corrections programs compared to incarcerating offenders in jail. Statewide, it is estimated that Indiana jails cost at least $240 million annually to maintain, and some counties spending up to a quarter of their budget on incarceration. A single offender can cost the state around $20,000 per year to incarcerate. It may not be as well known in the community that community corrections programs often operate through offenders' fees and grants, reducing the reliance on taxpayer funding. This means that offenders who participate in community corrections programs often cover the costs of their supervision and support through their own fees. Boone County, for example, saved over $5.4 million in tax money in 2001 by using community corrections programs. Henry County saved over $1.6 million in 1 year by using community corrections instead of incarceration. It has been estimated that dozens and dozens of Wells County offenders have been diverted away from community corrections every year. Some or many sitting in jail instead due to Judge Kirchhoff's feelings about the community corrections program. This has resulted in the program having significantly less offenders than otherwise would have or should have, which in turn negatively impacted the intake of offenders' fees and less money back to the program and county. Is this all just coincidence, or is this most recent proposal a result of deliberate or even somewhat manufactured plan to square up personal grievances or collect power? Is this 90-day proposed review just a way to let probation's assistant chief peek under the curtain to gather enough intel to effect one final act of sabotage? I really hope it's not the latter, with Community Corrections Advisory Board and/or county employees being puppeteered by public servants, but it is certainly a major concern, especially in light of the written correspondence I recently received from Judge Kirchhoff, very clearly citing his desire and intent to merge community corrections and probation. It is important to note that 2/3 of counties in Indiana maintain separate community corrections programs, while only 1/3 have merged probation and community corrections into a single department. These statistics demonstrate a clear and majority in favor of a separate, dedicated community corrections department. I continue to believe in and rely upon data, not just conjecture, that an active and well-managed community corrections program allows counties to save money on jail costs while giving qualifying individuals the opportunity to remain employed and productive during the period of time that they are being supervised and held accountable for their offense. The upcoming retirement of Director Poindexter presents an opportunity to appoint a qualified, impartial director, one who can ensure professionalism, transparency, and trust within the Community Corrections Department. I propose to Judge Kirchhoff and the Community Corrections Advisory Board a constructive way forward. The Community Corrections Advisory Board should work closely with the commissioners to develop a detailed set of key performance indicators, KPIs, and quarterly goals for community corrections. The new director should have accountability and appear monthly before the commissioners to report on progress, challenges, and operational efficiencies. Furthermore, the program's success should be monitored through monthly reports from the director as well as reports from the Community Corrections Advisory Board after each meeting to ensure Community Corrections operates effectively, responsibly, and in the best interest of public safety. If in 1 year from the appointment of a new director, Community Corrections has not demonstrated measurable improvement, I concede that a serious discussion about both our probation and Community Corrections Department should be initiated. I would invite members of County Council to collaborate with the board on investigative options and ensure transparency and accountability across all departments. As part of my proposal, I asked Judge Kirchhoff for one thing in return, his commitment to send qualified offenders to community corrections so the program can be meaningfully analyzed and tested. I've not received any communication or response agreeing to that request. All of the concerns and questions highlighted above have me seriously questioning whether the 90-day review is just perfunctory to effect a merger that, from where I'm sitting, is largely based on generalized and very serious allegations of mismanagement with no details or evidence to back those claims up. This doesn't have to be a rush job. It shouldn't be a rush job. The people of Wells County deserve better and more than that. The employees of community corrections and even probation who come to work every day for this county deserve better and more than that. We have time for some due diligence and good faith, collaborative attempt to strengthen community corrections as a separate, accountable department with a director that has long-term objectives and interests for Wells County as a whole. If the period of meaningful due diligence and good faith collaborative efforts demonstrate that a different path is best for Wells County, I will happily be part of those next steps. For these reasons, I vehemently oppose the 90-day review of community corrections by the Assistant Chief of Probation, and again reiterate Commissioner Stringer's directive from several weeks ago that applications be reviewed, interviews be conducted, and new Director of Community Corrections be appointed. With all of that said, I would like to make a motion to reject the recommendation from the Community Corrections Board.
Point of order. I wasn't on the agenda tonight, and came here just to see where things stood, because I think there was some confusion about the May 19th meeting that I was asked about it by other individuals that it was an impression that I was supposed to be here. When I had told you at the board I couldn't be here, so I had a personal obligation. I'm not on the agenda tonight. I was told by Lisa McCormick, apparently through your directives, that I wasn't wanted on the agenda, is what the email I received from her, which is fine, for the May 19th meeting. Then you sent me.
Just to clear up, I'd never give directive that we didn't want you on the agenda.
Okay, that's the email I received from, that's all I'm going off of. I take some concerns that these are personal attacks at me. Mr. Vanner, you haven't been to it, you were on the advisory board for 4 years. 3 years you weren't there. 3 straight years you weren't on the advisory board meetings. So I didn't prepare any remarks, and it's interesting that I wasn't on the agenda tonight, and a number of people here I can see who are in responses where this is anticipated you were going to talk about this tonight. So I take a little bit of umbrage. I wasn't on the agenda, and I wouldn't have been here, and you took this opportunity to take a shot at me. I've tried to be professional with Mr. Vanover. I've sent you email. I've tried to communicate. You've told people you wouldn't even talk to me about this perspective. We have, for several years, first off, you were also, I want to point out, you were also in charge of, on the advisory board, the review of Mr. Poindexter, and didn't do it. So I take these personal attacks I've somehow, are you aware of the budget situation, Mr. Vanover? The project income account was over $200,000 4 years ago. It's down to less than $50,000 now, and the project had the subcommittee out worked on this budget proposal wouldn't have run out of money this year, in the next fiscal year. To say that this is just some attempt to grab power or something, I'm trying to have, we can consolidate both departments and make them a more efficient and more
effective program. I'm trying to make the best program I can for Wells County. That's what I'm doing. I get no additional money for this. Stephen Pastoria, my director, my probation chief officers, get no additional money for this. This is trying to make the best program I can for Wells County. I sent this email today to Mr. Gerber and Stringer in response to your email you sent me, which you didn't respond to that, my email, by the way, last week.
I think it took about as many days as you did to respond to mine, sir.
2 days.
Right.
2 days.
Okay.
2 days. I have a court to run. That's my full-time job.
Sure, I have things,
I have things to do.
It's Tuesday, I get it.
So your email states as follows, and I take some issue that this transition presents an opportunity for the executive body of Wells County to lead this department with renewed vigor and vision. I think there's a point of clarification here. Community corrections is not operated by the commissioners. Under Indiana law, the Community Corrections Advisory Board is the body charged with overseeing the operation of the program. The commissioner's statutory role is to approve or reject director appointments made by the CCAB, not to directly manage the department. You also wrote an intent to establish, and you spoke about it tonight, to establish key performance indicators, quarterly reviews, and term limits for the director position. While I think those are great ideas, I would note your body has had representation on the advisory board for years. In that time, only Commissioner Gerber has regularly attended those meetings where such suggestions could have been made and formally proposed and implemented. You volunteered, as I mentioned earlier, to assess the director's performance, but to my knowledge, no, that advisory was never conducted or shared with the CCAB. And for a 3-year period, 2022, 2023, 2024, you did not attend a single advisory board meeting, even though you were a member of that board. And it's during that period of time you were in attendance, that the Community Corrections Department depleted more than $200,000 from its project income account. The email also suggests that you as the commissioners seek an agreement whereby offenders from your court are referred to Community Corrections Program once it's operationally deemed appropriate. There may be some confusion at this point, but I currently offer a broad range of cases, I refer a broad range of cases to community corrections, juveniles, adult offenders, and community transition participants. These referrals have continued uninterrupted and are issued when legal and appropriate. It is extremely important there is a home detention program that is accountable and efficiently operated. You made a mention that I've somehow, and I take some issue with this, that I've placed people in prison. That's what you're saying, that you're implying that I place people in prison.
Jail.
I don't put people in jail. They're arrested and placed in jail pre-trial, but as a sentencing, you're suggesting that I put people in jail unnecessarily.
Well, not at all. They committed a crime. They're there for a reason.
That's exactly my point.
Right.
I put people who are appropriate and should be on there. You made a... So this is my knowledge, my point. So here's the thing. What's going on so far is I'm like coaching a team here, right? And you're the owners of that team. And you haven't attended practices, you haven't attended the games, you haven't attended the team meetings, but now we're at the draft and you're going to tell me who we're going to pick when you don't know what my needs are. I'm in this every single day, running court. And I'm suggesting to you a way forward that could save the county, at least under the current budget, it would save $80,000 if we didn't have that director position. And under right now, as I pointed out in my letter to the two of you today, there's some restructuring of the probation department staff. If we could, that would further consolidate some costs. We could, by not replacing that person and utilizing current community corrections staff. My plan is permitted by Office of Court Services. I had a conversation with Angie Estes, who's the Assistant Director of Community Corrections at the Department of Corrections. She encouraged a county of our size to implement this plan. It's already implemented by 25 other counties in some form. Fulton County, which is a county similar size to us, has half the staff. They have a part-time director, 2 caseworkers, and 1 field officer, and they have a offender population more than twice what we have currently. Most importantly in this plan that I'm proposing today, it was voted and approved almost unanimously by the advisory board that has your representative. 2 of your representatives voted for this plan. And all I asked for last time is that this be voted on, and that's where we stand. You want to circumvent what's the statutory process here. If you don't have my plan, vote it down. But to take shots at me and say that I should just take these applications that you put an ad out for, it circumvents the process here. My objective is simple, to improve community supervision services in Wells County, that's it. The plan is supported by data, law, and precedent, and by those who have most directly involved with the department's operation. And I just urge you to adopt the plan. Again, I wasn't on the agenda and didn't plan for you to do that tonight, and those are contents of the email I sent. But
Just I got one, and this is outside of what just happened, but when you came to us, and we've had several conversations, I think, right?
Yes.
We've had several, and I haven't read your email because we got it right before.
I'll just send it late today.
And I think I brought this up last time, is my hesitation is you tell me, and we've talked several times, that you're gonna evaluate it, but then, and I didn't get the email directly, I got it indirectly, then you and Councilman Harnish told me either adopt the plan or we're gonna defund you.
Okay.
I'm just saying it.
Okay.
And then what you're telling me is that you're gonna combine them now. It's clear that your approach is that you wanna combine, so there's really no evaluation. To say that we're gonna evaluate is a pre-gone conclusion that you wanna combine.
I can look at it either way. My goal is to combine. I'm no bones about it. You and I talked about that. That is I think that's I'm trying to.
We talked about that you were gonna look at it,
That's
evaluation, and then determine whether we're gonna go. But I think what you're saying now, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, is you wanna combine.
To be honest with you, if things work the way I think they will, in 90 days, I'm gonna come back to you and say, we did it for 90 days, it's worked, let's make this a permanent change. That's the plan, okay? If in 90 days it's not working, we can say, you know what, let's pivot, let's go back to how we've done it before and have a director. I'm not trying to hide the ball, I'm not trying to pull the wool over everyone's eyes. This is simply a trial period for mostly to show you that this could work. That's the plan. That's what I'm trying to do.
That's where, and I'm just being straight with you, that's where I struggle, is that I thought when we talked about it, it was 90 days to evaluate the discrepancies, get where we need to be, then make the decision. That the idea is, let's combine, try it out for 90 days. If it's working after 90 days, we keep it combined.
Well, I think that's almost a distinction, not a difference. What I'm trying to, if Pastori's in charge of it, that's what I'm trying to do, is show you this can work. And in 90 days, that this isn't falling apart, we haven't lost confidence in the program, that it's still working, that it can work this way. We're not talking about eliminating staff. I assured that to Mr. Tremere, that's not what we're looking at. I'm trying to make it a much smoother and more efficient operation, period.
And I'm not disagreeing with that, I'm just saying, it comes back to really when I read what was in the paper last time, was Pastori is going in there to find a way to combine it. He's not going in there to evaluate the deficiencies of what we have compared to what a good operating community corrections would look like.
I guess I'm not trying to, I guess I'm not seeing the distinction. What I proved to you is what was passed by the board.
It was an evaluation.
It was an evaluation, but I'm trying to suggest to you how we could do it. And
I'm just saying, it's really not an evaluation, it's a test. An evaluation is we step back and look.
Well, it would name him as the director. That's one way to talk, and talking with consultation with Mr. Storr is one way you could do this without any kind of, initially without any type of agreement. Going forward, after 90 days, if we decide this is the plan we want to look at, then we want to go forward with that, we're going to have to talk about a better, either a memorandum of understanding or modification of our bylaws to make this a long-term plan. At any time, and I emphasize this, at any time, you have, as long as we're taking grant money, this board has the final say whether it goes forward or not. You can always, you have to approve the budget and you have to approve the grant application. If you don't approve those things, if a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever, if this isn't working, you say, we want to go back to having a director, you have that control. And you still have representatives on the board, the advisory board. You always have that opportunity. So I'm not trying to, I'm trying to be clear. I'm not trying to hide anything. I think there's this suggestion I'm trying to hide something. We're not trying to do that. What I'm trying to suggest to you is this is a plan that could work. Let's try it for 90 days and see where it's at. my intention was, if in 90 days, we're like, this isn't gonna work, it's not feasible, it's too complex, we need a director in here again, we can go do that. It doesn't change things. And I appreciate Mr. Vanover's suggestion that, hey, let's hire someone as a director, and in a year, we can change plan if it doesn't work. Then we're back to the situation we've been in for a while, and then we have to potentially dismiss the director because it's not working out. Why not try this plan? It doesn't cost us anything to do it this manner, and then in a year from now, it's not working, put a director. And my plan is no cost. It doesn't cost any additional money.
I'm reading into what Commissioner Vanover had in there, but I think what he's stating is, what does a good community, if you're saying that part of the issue has been the director and some things that have happened with the director, what does a good community corrections department look like? And I'm the one that pushed that we put the resumes out, or asked for resumes, maybe above what I should have done, and I'll take that responsibility. But what does a good one look like when it's operating correctly? We hear from Adams County that they've got a solid one that pays for itself, they don't ask for grants, all sorts of things. And that's where I thought we were going, is that we're gonna evaluate, here's what good looks like, here's what combined looks like. And I think that's where the consternation is I don't think that's the case. And I'm not pointing fingers that it's good or bad, but the idea is, let's combine them, and as long as it doesn't fail, we go that direction, correct?
Correct.
I think that's the feedback I've got, even from people on your board of, hey, I voted that we were gonna go through and evaluate it. I didn't vote that we were gonna combine it, and that's just people coming to me about it.
Well, I'm trying to, for the first 90 days, I'm not talking we're changing it up. I think in 90 days, we can look at it and say, hey, this is going to work. I'm looking at it as in 90 days, we're gonna look at it. This is going to work. Let's make it more permanent. And in that case, there's a lot of things we have to do. We have to either adopt a memorandum of understanding between the two. One of the issues, the Office of Court Services offered advice. One of the problems that can happen is, for example, if you start commingling funds, like, so you have the grant and you're paying your probation officer, your probation chief, because he's supervising community corrections, you pay him out of that grant half his salary, right? And then, and you're gonna put half on the field worker and pay half in the probation officer here, and you start commingling those funds. The issue becomes, who does that person work for?
We have those issues now, right?
Yeah, they happen, yeah, well, not so much that, but that can happen. Who works for who? So it's very important, and I think it's imperative, and you have counsel, and I think we would need to have a discussion about who's working for who, what that agreement looks like, so it's very clear. Some counties, for example, the grant pays for the probation chief's salary, okay? If there's malfeasance, a problem with the probation chief, who does he work for? Because ordinarily, like currently, they work for the courts. So can the court fire this person, or does the advisory board have the power to fire this person? Those are the kind of problems you run into. So you have to have a clear memorandum of understanding or bylaws to reflect how that's working. We're not there yet. And that's why I'm calling it an evaluation. That's where we are. How are we going to structure this long-term if this works? That's the plan. I'm not trying to deceive anyone. I'm not trying to trick you. We had to start somewhere. And this is one we can do it without a whole bunch of work on developing these memorandum of understandings or bylaws. We could just simply start with naming the assistant chief and start there and then reevaluate in 90 days. That's the plan. So on that, if there's any other questions, I'm happy to entertain those.
I'm just going to say, I've been going to these meetings for 8-9 years. Don't miss too many of them. And just really felt that never got the full information from our director when we were at that meeting. It was either skewed or embellished, I don't know. But it was hard to get really accurate information. And over the time here, as this has happened the last few months, it just seems like I'm welcoming anything that gives us the option that has more transparency. It's out there. I think it would be information, I think even 90 days is going to be too much. I think we'll know in 30 to 60 days if we see this working. And I'm willing to give it a shot. If it's bad, I'll take the optics and, pin me to the board and, whatever. I'm willing to give it a try because I've seen the last 6 to 8 years of mediocrity, and I don't like that. So that's where I'm at. I just want to share that.
On the board, I think I was the one that pushed, Lisa took my spot. I think Eric Kiefer took Mike's because it was hit and miss when they were, and it's been the middle of the day. Not everybody's got time, so right, wrong, or indifferent, I've missed some of those meetings.
And I understand you have a job to do. I get that. And I'm not faulting you for that.
My deal, and it's the same as what I told you before, is I want some options, and I feel, and I think I've talked to you about this, one option is not options, and I kind of feel, and again, I'm going off what Mr. Harnish has told me, and then where we're at now, that I thought this was an evaluation. It's not, it's a trial period. Clear, I'm not saying it's malfeasance or anything, but I don't like the idea that the first time I was told is either follow me or we're gonna defund you. That wasn't you, but it was out of the board. It was out of the CCAB board. That was the approach. I don't like that. I don't want to ever be held hostage. I'm not trying to hold you hostage. I want some options. So I understand where Commissioner Gerber's from, but one option is not options. I'd like to see some other ideas of what could be done. And I'm not saying that we don't combine them. I'm not saying we do combine them, but I'm not cool with just, here's the only way we can go. So I would ask that the board go back and say, here's option A, here's option B, and let's see what we can do, and let's come to an agreement that works for everybody, but I can't go with one option. Fair?
I think a lot of these issues could have been resolved early. When I asked for a list of deficiencies of Poindexter way early on, when I was first at those meetings, and I've asked several times and gotten nothing.
Mr. Vanderwerf, you and I met for lunch one time, and you told me Mr. Pointer works for you, you would have fired him. You told me that.
I did say that,
Yeah.
correct.
So,
After you had given me all that information on these things he's been doing, not running the department. And
as Mr. Gerber has pointed out, that was years ago. I did send you a letter back in 2021 about an ongoing issue at that time of a supervision issue that was going on. I did send you something. As Mr. Gerber's pointed out, there's not always this smoking gun issue, and I've tried for years to find that. As Mr. Gerber just, I think, very succinctly pointed out, there's been an ongoing issue of embellishment and dodging questions and lack of forthrightness with answering questions. That's been my overall concern with the director. It's not a smoking gun, he did this and lied about this. It's not that. It's the ongoing concern Mr. Gerber just raised. So I have raised those with you, and you were aware of them. Is there anything else? Thank you.
Thanks.
I had no idea that this was going to be brought up today, but thought it had been tabled, so I came. Judge, I've not had one conference with you and Stephen concerning any of what the plan is. Is that correct?
No, that's not true. We've
When?
had a series of JRAC subcommittees to discuss this very issue.
And it's not been.
Judge Antrim,
Yeah.
I don't want to have a debate in this.
All right, let me tell you what I think. There's not been any transparency. That's why I haven't been able to get behind it. I also thought that there's an issue because they should come to you first and see whether or not there's consensus that there should be a deciding which option versus another. I do 66% of the people that are on this program. So far, since May, I think he's got 27. So I have the people involved in this program. I think I should be involved intimately in whatever the plan is. I've not been. We have JRAC meetings quarterly. You know, that's not telling me what the plan is.
It's not giving me a flow chart. That would have been great for you guys to see a flow chart. There's not been the plan. And that's why I think that you should send it back, let us get a director in place, and then put a plan together that perhaps can be implemented in 2 or 3 years. Or 1, I don't think it can be done that fast, but do some performance measures. Look at what's going on. I had to say something because
I don't think there's any debate that, and this isn't meant bad for the people in community corrections, but I don't think there's been a debate that there's some issues there. I think I've only been a commissioner for 3.5 years, and it's been top of topic since, right? And it can go through me, it can go through Mike, it can go through Scott. Everybody's been involved in that CCAB. We got to figure out a way to make things better, whether it's combining or keeping them separate. I want the options to look at it, but we have an issue that we need to address as a group. I think part of the problem is that the CCAB is way too big. You can't make a decision with, 17 people on that board?
I think it's by statute, though.
Yeah, it's by statute. I've got a question for Lisa McCormick. There's been some question about project income. Was anything spent that was not approved?
No.
So this magic intimate or suggesting that there's some malfeasance financially, it's not there. Again, the director's not here to defend himself. And anyway, that's all I wanted to say. If you got any more questions, I'll field them. None? All right, thank you for your time.
I mean, no matter what, we're coming up against the deadline. When the director leaves, we have to have something done.
Mike, you made a motion to accept or to reject. What was your motion?
To reject the recommendation from the CCAB. Reason being, I feel we've been pushed up to the point where if there's a recommendation in front of us, they're not going to go back and look at anything else and not bring you the things that you asked for, which were other options.
I do want other options. I don't know, it's not on the agenda, I don't know if we can vote on it or make the motion, but I want some additional options. And I think I've made that clear from the day we first talked about it. So I would support that we push back on what's out there now. I don't know if that I could second it, but I would second that and ask that you come to us with option A, which is your probation approach, and what could option B be, and push on that group to look at it. I think that's a fair request. In this case, I would say I second that rejection, and come back to us if you could, Judge, at the 16th before this all ends up, and let's come to a meaningful, combined approach to get this thing fixed. It gets you what you need, it gets Antrim what he needs, and gets us off the table. I'm not saying this isn't a big thing that we need to resolve, but we got some bigger things coming up that we need to take under consideration too, so that's mine. I don't know if we want to take a vote on that, or...
I'll abstain from the vote because we have a meeting scheduled the 11th. I'm not making a decision before we have a
And I'm good with that too, if
conversation on
you want to have that
Well, we've got a
conversation.
motion and a second. I think that's a vote.
There you go.
Anything else?
I don't know that we've had anything resolved right now. We've got a motion and a second, but unless you really weren't seconding the motion.
Well, second the motion to reject it until we have two options.
And then, do you wish to table the matter without a vote? To get additional options, or?
Yeah, I'd like additional options, so. Give me some direction, Ted.
Well, this is a unique Roberts rule, and I don't know that I know the answer. If the motion's been presented and seconded, there are options available to the members of the board who vote. It seems to me that one of those would be then to table a vote on the motion until another time. It's one option.
So I'll just express where my mind's at, is that I do not want to see it go down that our only option is we're going to combine them. So I'm rejecting that. If that's seconding the motion and voting that we reject it, then that's what I'm doing on my side. if we can get to where we can have additional options and try to find a runway that meets what we're looking for, and I don't know what those options are. I just want an additional option besides you have to combine probation and community corrections. I don't like that idea without a true evaluation of what does community corrections look like when it runs well.
If I may, what was the original motion?
The motion was to reject.
The current recommendation from the CCAB.
It's been a while since the motion was made.
So technically, there hasn't been a second because you were actually asking for other alternatives or options.
But do I second it and we vote and it's done, and then we come back with Plan B that could be multiple options?
You can.
And that's where I'm at. And then they can meet on the 11th and come back with,
Point of clarification as the head of the board. Are you saying, I'm trying to understand, you say you want additional options. Well, there's only two options. What the board has proposed to you, or to hire a director.
so here's,
If you're rejecting our motion, then that means that only leaves one option, to hire a director. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
okay, so I'm not clear myself, but what I don't like was the idea that we're going to evaluate and then we're going to come back in 90 days and determine whether we go after a director or we don't. That was what was presented to me. Now what's being presented is we're going to combine them, and as long as we don't see anything wrong in 90 days, it's going to stay combined. That's not what I was originally told.
But that's not, it still has to be reapproved, combining them would still have to be reapproved in 90 days. So it's not an automatic.
So do we even need a vote and an option now? Because it hasn't been evaluated, and it hasn't been said we're going to combine them. So I'm confused about where we're at.
If you're looking for a procedural matter, if you don't know what the motion is and how that would be applied, from a procedural standpoint, you wouldn't want to second that motion.
Like you made the motion. Is there any clarification, or am I making this muddier than it should be?
My motion is, the spirit of my motion is to reject the current plan that is before us, the current recommendation from the CCAB.
Which is combine.
As I understand, it's a 90-day evaluation and combining probation and community corrections.
The actual recommendation from the Community Corrections Advisory Board is to appoint an interim director for a period of 90 days. The Board of Commissioners has the statutory authority to either approve the hiring of the executive director provided by Community Corrections Advisory Board, or not to approve the hiring of somebody approved by, someone suggested by the Community Corrections Advisory Board. So the authority would be to either approve the individual suggested, which was an interim director for a period of 90 days, or not.
I can reread it if you'd like.
Yeah,
The motion that was passed by the CCAB is this. The advisory board hereby appoints Assistant Chief Probation Officer beginning June 21st, 2025, to serve as interim director of community corrections for a period of 90 days or until the next regularly scheduled meeting of the advisory board, whichever is later. And then this interim appointment is subject to approval by the county executive body as required by the statute. The advisory board will review this interim appointment and determine the next steps at that time. So at that time, 90 days, we are where we are today. We can talk about hiring a director. We can talk about going forward with a plan to consolidate, or we can figure something else out, whatever that might be. But that's the plan. That's what we presented to you. I'm not trying to.
So right now, 3 options? That's what you just said?
Essentially, you could either, right now, the option is, what option we presented is the appointment of the interim director for 90 days.
Right.
That's the option. And then in 90 days, we have to redo it again. Either hire a director, continue on an interim basis, or look at combining or something of
In between.
Yeah, that's the plan.
My motion is to reject the current recommendation in front of us by the CCAB to have the assistant chief act as the interim director for 90 days.
So yours is just who the person is, not so
Not
much.
just the person. So I wouldn't mind a review if it was somebody from a neutral party, but I mean, we don't have that. I think honestly it'd be a waste of time, but I'd be open to that.
To have a third party go in and do it.
But again, like, I feel that the recommendation has to be rejected before they're gonna go back and look at it again, is my understanding from the communication that I've had and received. Is that correct, Judge?
That's not what I said.
I think in the email that we had, the communication we had, you said that there was a recommendation before us right now.
There is.
Right.
But the community correction, the CCAB also passed at the last meeting, the development of a subcommittee, 5-member subcommittee, myself, Ms. McCormick, Mr. Harnish, so your representative, county council's representative, the prosecuting attorney's the prosecutor's office, and myself as the 5 members. Right. Yeah, and then that committee, as I outlined in my letter to you, my plan was that subcommittee can evaluate the applications that are being submitted and also work and evaluate what's going on with community corrections as the interim director is running it. That's what was done in conjunction with this plan.
So you're saying now you guys will look at those resumes as that group?
That was the...
That wasn't original because I'm the one that forced the resumes, right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm the one
I
that
understand, but that was known at the time
You had your meeting?
we had our meeting. So there is a plan by the board to look at that. That's our plan. One way or the other, look at those applications. That's part of it.
And then in 90 days, you come back and we determine whether we combine community corrections, don't combine it, and whether we hire a director or not.
Whatever you want to go.
His past story, and I know he's not here to defend himself, and I'm not accusing, but is he non-biased, or does he want community corrections and probation combined?
I think he wants what I want is the best program we can have for Wells County. And I think that that would be combining it. He's not going in as some auditor. I mean, he's running the program. My hope is he can go in there and be objective and say, this isn't going to work. Like, either this isn't just going to work, we need to have a director here that needs to run its own, or we can say, the plan is we also have, again, your representative, the fiscal body's representative, one of the judges, the prosecuting attorney, to look at that. I'm missing somebody, I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Andy Erdler.
You're Andy Erdler, thank you, I knew I was missing somebody. To look at that and decide what's the best going forward and make we have to come back to you again in 90 days to make a recommendation again.
That's where I struggle, is I don't think past story, after meeting with him and somebody else to go over what the plan is, and now understanding what the perception is, or what you would like, you think it'd be best to go with probation. I just don't see him being neutral. To go in to say, I think this could work, or I don't think it could work, I think he's going in with the end in mind that we've got to combine community corrections, and that's where I struggle. I'm just being straight up with you.
Well,
I want somebody that's going to go in and say, what might be best for the county is that we hire a new director. And if he can't see that because he's already tainted and tainted might not be the word, but he already has the end in mind that we need to combine them, is he the right person to put in there?
I guess you'd have to ask yourself this, he gets no financial incentive
I get
to do
that.
this. So I guess what would be his motivation to bias or jaded in one way or the other? Other than he just wants what's best for the county and a smooth program that can to be efficient and functional. That's what we're trying to offer. At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to offer you, is a program that increases efficiency, is fiscally a better alternative, and a better use of the resources we have. If you don't want it, you want to hire a director and go to front, that's fine. But I'm presenting to you a proposal that I think would save us money.
Yeah,
And that's all I'm trying to do.
you guys are asking me what I want. I don't know until I have a full evaluation of what makes the most sense.
I
I'm not a community corrections person, I'm not a probations person. I want somebody that's non-biased come back and tell me, Jeff, this is the best thing for the county. And I'm just saying that I think, in my perception, I think Pastore's biased.
Okay, and that's fine.
That's not cutting him down, I just think he's already got his...
This is a proposal, again, I'm not trying to do it. We have a plan in place with 5 members to look at all options, and that was the plan to look at that. If you want to not do that, I'll certainly, if you vote it down, that's fine, we'll go forward with just hiring someone, because that's the only option remaining.
I like the plan of the 5 people evaluating it. I'm just not sure he's the one to give the recommendation of which way to evaluate
Well,
it.
I don't think that there's, I mean, we will ultimately, this 5-member board is gonna have to look at a recommendation. We're gonna, we all have a role in this. We see the financial side of it, we see the other sides of it, but I don't know what else to say. I mean, about that, so.
No matter what, it has to come to a vote, we either accept it or deny it, so.
So I believe there's a motion, and we're waiting for a second on the motion to reject the proposed appointment from the Community Corrections Advisory Board.
I reject the proposal of who's going to do it. I like the plan of how it's going to be done. I just don't think Pastore's the guy to do it. Not personally to him, I just think he's coming from within. I'd like to see somebody from without.
Is that a second?
That's a second.
Okay. Is there further discussion on the matter?
I have none.
Would someone care to call the question?
For a vote?
Correct.
We have a vote? President?
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
0.
Abstain.
So the recommendation from the Community Corrections Advisory Board to appoint an interim director for 90 days has been rejected by a vote of 2-0 with 1 abstain.
Correct.
We'll take another name or another direction.
Yeah, that would come from the Community Corrections Advisory Board as a recommendation then to the Board of Commissioners to approve.
All right, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Talk to you afterwards, yeah.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?